Okay, so imagine you are swimming in a nice calm river. Everything is fine. Birds are chirping, fish are swimming around you, and then something latches onto your leg. You look down, and it has no jaw, no scales, no paired fins, no bones, and it is absolutely covered in teeth. 360 teeth to be exact, arranged in circles, going all the way back into its throat. You just met a lamprey, and your whole understanding of what a fish is supposed to be just shattered into pieces. Welcome back. Today we are talking about the lamprey, and I promise you this animal is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about evolution, because this creature is basically a living argument against the rulebook. Every rule vertebrates are supposed to follow, the lamprey looked at that list, crumpled it up, and threw it in the river. Let us start with the basics so we know what we are dealing with. A lamprey looks like an eel. Long body, slippery, moves through water. But here is where it gets wild. It is not an eel. It is not even a fish. Not really. Not in the way you and I think about fish. It belongs to a separate ancient group called egnathans. That word means without jaw. And that is the first rule broken right there. Every vertebrate you have ever heard of has a jaw. Sharks have jaws. Frogs have jaws. You have a jaw. Jaws are considered one of the biggest evolutionary upgrades in the history of animal life. Scientists call the development of the jaw one of the most important innovations in vertebrate evolution. It allowed animals to bite, to hunt, to chew, to dominate. And the lamprey just skipped that entire upgrade, on purpose, for 500 million years. And it is doing just fine, thank you very much. Here is surprising fact number 1. The lamprey is older than the dinosaurs by a ridiculous amount. We have fossil lampreys that are over 360 million years old. And get this, they look almost exactly the same as the lampreys alive right now. The dinosaurs came and went. The continents moved. Ice ages happened. Mass extinctions wiped out like 75% of all life on Earth multiple times. And the lamprey just kept being a lamprey, unchanged, unbothered, absolutely winning at survival. Now let us talk about that mouth, because we have to. You cannot talk about lampreys and avoid the mouth. It would be like making a video about volcanoes and skipping the lava. The lamprey has what is called an oral disc. Imagine a suction cup. Now line the inside of that suction cup with hundreds of sharp teeth arranged in perfect concentric circles, like a really terrifying dartboard. That is the mouth. There is no jaw, just suction and teeth and commitment. The lamprey uses this mouth to latch onto other fish. It holds on with incredible force. Then it uses a special structure called a piston. Yes, an actual piston-like tongue, covered in even more teeth, to rasp through scales and skin and get to the blood and body fluids underneath. It does not let go for days, sometimes weeks. Some lampreys ride their host fish for so long the fish does not survive. This sounds like a horror movie, and yet it is just Tuesday for a lamprey. But here is where it gets surprisingly complicated. Not all lampreys are parasitic. About half of all lamprey species never feed on other animals at all as adults. They hatch, they grow up, they mature, and then they reproduce and die without ever latching onto anything. Their mouths are built for this brutal lifestyle, and they just never use it that way. Scientists find this genuinely puzzling. It is like being born with the most powerful weapon imaginable and just choosing to never use it. Evolution made them ready for violence, and they said no thank you. Surprising fact number 2. Lampreys have no stomach. None. Zero stomach. When scientists first discovered this, they thought they must have made a mistake. Every vertebrate has a stomach. It is one of those things you just assume exists in any animal with a backbone. But the lamprey has a completely straight digestive tube with no stomach anywhere in sight. Food goes in one end and keeps moving. No storage, no acid bath, just a tube. Scientists are still not completely sure how lampreys get enough nutrition this way, but they manage just fine. Ancient design, zero complaints. Now let us get into the nervous system, because this is where things get truly jaw-dropping. No pun intended, because again, no jaw. The lamprey has the most primitive vertebrate brain that scientists have ever studied in a living animal. And because of this, it has become one of the most important research animals in all of neuroscience. Researchers used the lamprey brain to understand how the very first vertebrate nervous systems worked. Its brain is so simple and so ancient that studying it is like finding a rough draft of every vertebrate brain that ever evolved, including yours. The circuits that control your walking, your balance, your basic movement. They were first figured out by studying lampreys. You owe this weird jawless vacuum tube a thank you. Surprising fact number 3. The lamprey spends most of its early life completely blind and buried in the mud. After hatching, the baby lamprey, called an amocoidae, burrows into the riverbed and just stays there. For years, sometimes up to 7 years. It lies in the mud with its eyes covered by skin. Not functional eyes, just skin where eyes will eventually be. It filters tiny particles of food out of the water. It does not hunt. It does not move much. It is basically a tube of future lamprey sitting in the dark, waiting. Then, when it finally transforms into an adult, its eyes develop. It breaks free from the mud, and it goes off to begin its wild adult life. This transformation is one of the most dramatic in the entire animal kingdom, and most people have never even heard of it. Let us talk about blood for a second. When a parasitic lamprey attaches to a host fish, it does not just bite and pull blood out. It releases a cocktail of chemicals into the wound that are genuinely impressive from a scientific standpoint. These chemicals prevent the blood from clotting. They keep the wound open and flowing. They break down the host's tissue to make feeding easier. Scientists have been studying these chemicals because some of them have potential medical uses. The lamprey figured out anticoagulant chemistry hundreds of millions of years ago. It was doing biohacking before biohacking was a word. Surprising fact number 4. Some lampreys can detect magnetic fields. They use Earth's magnetic field to navigate during their long migrations upstream to spawn. They do this with no advanced brain structures. No special organs that we have fully mapped out. They just do it, somehow, with this ancient, simple nervous system that should not be capable of something so sophisticated. Scientists are genuinely baffled by this one. The lamprey keeps doing things it is not supposed to be able to do. Here is one more thing that will blow your mind. When lampreys reproduce, they build nests. The male and female lamprey work together to move rocks around on the riverbed, creating a pit where the eggs will be laid. They wrap around each other to fertilize the eggs, and then they both die. Every adult lamprey dies after reproducing. Every single one. No exceptions. The entire parasitic adult life, all that feeding and traveling and growing, is all just preparation for one single reproductive event. And then it is over. But those eggs hatch, and those tiny blind babies burrow into the mud, and 7 years later they emerge, and the whole cycle starts again, just like it has been starting again for over 360 million years. So let us bring it all together. The lamprey has no jaw, no stomach, no paired fins, no scales, and no bones in the traditional sense. It is older than the dinosaurs and looks exactly the same as it did back then. It can detect magnetic fields with a primitive brain. It spends years blind in the mud before exploding into one of nature's most effective parasites. And then it dies after spawning as if it was always the plan, because it was always the plan. The plan has been working for 500 million years, and there is absolutely no reason to change it. The lamprey does not break the rules of vertebrate evolution on accident. It breaks them on purpose, deliberately, slowly, over hundreds of millions of years of success. It is the ultimate proof that evolution does not have a destination. There is no finish line. There is no perfect design. There is just what works. And the lamprey, it works. Now here's what I want you to think about, and tell me in the comments. If the lamprey has survived completely unchanged for over 360 million years, does that mean it is a failure of evolution for not changing? Or does that make it the single greatest success story in the history of life on Earth? Drop your answer below. I genuinely cannot wait to read